Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Monday. It's July the 19th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And what a sell-off! This was about a 100-point move down to the lows, and we recovered some of it, not a whole lot. But when you get a trend this strong, you just got to try to get on a good setup and just hang on as long as you can. That's really how you have to trade these, and there's not much other way you can do it. Uh, this was our key entry point. You didn't get a whole lot of entries. I mean, it was so weak, prices couldn't really get back. They couldn't get above the EMA. So you have to take what it would give you. We finally got a little bit of a correction here on a break. And of course, you'd expect a retest of the lows, which we did. And we finally found some support down here around 42.25, and then we rallied out of there a little bit. One thing to take note of where this rally came back to right here. It's kind of hard to see here. Let me back out a little bit. But when we broke loose right here, when we came through there, we never pulled back and tested that. And that's where this came back. We tested it a couple of times and then we went lower. So that you had to assume that was probably your target when we started going higher here. It could have been the open, but most likely it's going to be this last low that we just shot. As you can see, we didn't really test that. We just shot right through and we never could come back and test it. Prices are normally going to come back and test those areas. And I mean, this is, even though this is downward, it's a little bit sideways here. There's a lot of support there, and prices that made the low on the breakout there, and we turned back down, and it was just down straight downhill right through here. And uh, we made a new low. We're still in the channel here. We get the break, and then we run down to a new low. And there's just a lot of movement here. And so really, everything you're going to notice here is all going to be shorts. I've got one green long over here at the very late in the day, and you didn't really, we were pretty sure we had a trend going up here. You just never got a good setup. So you got to be careful buying on a day like this. Just sit tight and look for sales and get on with it. And I mean, this is a very strong downtrend. And even though we were rallying here, you could almost guarantee we're going to make a retest of a low on a move that strong on the first break. The problem is you don't know where the correction is going to end, and you just kind of have to ride it out. The only reason I liked entering here is because we're at the upper side of this yellow channel, and it's pretty obvious that channel's in play. So you've got room back to the trend line, but it didn't matter. It just shoots right on through, and it just keeps going. And we run down and make a low, and then we just were stuck in this right here. But again, I'd be mostly looking. I don't think I'd want to take any longs down here. I looked to see if you could really find a good measured move, and it's really kind of difficult. This is really where the downtrend started right there, and I would say it ended about there. And so if you look at that, that gives you a measured move to right there, and that's pretty dang close to what we got. And that's really the way I would look at it on the measured move. Um, if you start from, well, shoot, you start from way up here, we didn't get anywhere close to it. You can see we came up short that way. But I really believe that what we were looking at was the downtrend started right there, and then we had the correction and it started back up, and you can see we came within a tick of that. That looks really, really close to me, and that's how I was looking at it. So it's not crystal clear, so it doesn't really matter. It's just a very strong downtrend. So I'm not going to beat around the bush anymore. I'm going to back out here. We're going to talk about these trades, and there's a lot of them, so I'm going to move through them pretty quickly. It's pretty self-explanatory. This was a strong downtrend. Even here, we're still trending down. You can see the EMA, although we're swinging back and forth. You could consider trading that both ways, but I wouldn't. I'm staying with that all the way down. So that's the way I see it. But anyway, let's get to going with the trades here. 7 o'clock came right in, and here as we're coming making this little correction. There's actually a second entry right here. I think that's real close to 7. I can't remember. I was here, but yeah, it's right at 7. but it's just a very neutral bar. And even though, so it takes off, but that's really, it's hard to say if that's your first close outside this little tight channel. Normally I'd say you wouldn't want to take a short right in here, but you can clearly see that there's a little trend working up. You get a close outside the UI, and that's a great second entry, and that's such a strong bar with plenty of room. You just about have to take that. Even if it's not going much lower, you're probably going to get a scalp out of that. And that was a quick, easy scalp. You didn't get much else out of it. And of course it bounced, and if that would have been a little better signal bar on that second entry short, because that is a new low, so it's first entry, second entry. If you had a good short signal bar there, take that trade. I didn't like it because it's too big a chance it's so close to the EMA it could have bounced and gone higher. But it was tempting. I mean, I had to bite my tongue not to take that trade. And afterwards, of course, you look at it and say, yeah, I should have taken it. But you can't let that bother you, because if you did take it and it bounces, you knew better. And so that's how sometimes you'll miss a trade, but you'll avoid the bad trades by following the rules. So anyway, then we're just kind of chopping sideways here. We finally get a little bounce. Again, this is in no man's land, but if you saw the yellow channel, it is right off that trend line. And you could have looked at this as a low and a first entry, second entry. And so that's a little tempting. I mean, it's such a low risk bar. I mean, there's only 4 ticks in that bar. I didn't mark it, but that's a possibility. And then finally we come back, you get a first entry, you get a second entry here, but signal bar is not very good. And then you get your failed second entry long, your reversal. So when it breaks lower there, if you've got enough room, you want to go with that. It may just keep going. You never know. Of course, you do get your close outside of this. Actually, this is your trend channel line on this side. We get an overshoot, which leads to a big reversal here. I marked this short because it is at the key entry point. Although you don't have a whole lot of information to say that's it. I mean, it's pretty obvious. You can see that midline in play all the way down. And this is a strong trend. It is, even if it's not, it's off the trend channel up here on a second entry short. Notice your new low, and you get a first entry, second entry, way away from the EMA. So prices are probably going to pull back. The problem is it could close outside and break higher. You do get a lower high here, which would have been the better entry, but the signal bar is no good. And then finally you get a failed second entry long. It breaks higher and turns down. I like going short right there. And if you catch that trade right there, boom, it's off to the races. And you could have had an easy runner. Then you make a new low and you get a first entry and you go higher there. And when it breaks lower right there, you got a second entry short. Another nice move down. Comes back. This time you got a little channel here with multiple swings. So, I mean, there is a second entry short right there. And if you'd have taken it, it would have worked. It's just a little sideways, a little close to the EMA with this trend channel still going. I don't recommend taking that one. Of course, if you did, it works. But then you're better off to wait on the reversal here. You get a first entry, and you might have considered entering there. If it hadn't have made a 2-bar matching lows and a double bottom there, I might have marked that one. But then you get a failed second entry long with a nice signal bar there. Of course, it doesn't matter on a trap what the signal bar looks like, but I like going short there. And then, of course, it ticks higher again and gives you a lower high right here. I don't think I would wait to go short way down here. You probably should have been in here, but if you weren't when it broke higher, when it went below that bar on the engulfing bar, I'd probably enter there. I just don't think I'd enter way down here. And technically, if you had, you could have waited till here. I don't know which way this broke first. I can't remember. So if it broke higher and then turned down, you could have entered here, but if it broke lower and went back up, you still could have entered down here. But it makes it a little more challenging. So either way, there is a reversal, a trap right there on a failed second entry. So you could enter that one. It actually comes back again and gives you another big bearish bar, but you're going short at the very low of the day. And it is off that little short-term key entry point. And on a day like this, it's probably going to, not that dangerous. You're probably going to get 4 ticks, but I can't justify marking that one. If you took it, I wouldn't beat you up over it, but I can't justify taking it. And of course, we're working up again, and that one's real tempting as well. But you can see you've got a few bars stacking up there. We're above the EMA. I'm not sure if it would have worked or not if you took it, but I would wait on a lower high here at least. I mean, there's 6 ticks there, so yeah, you get out of that one anyway. And it's such a bearish bar, but being above the EMA and that channel still working up, it's just a little scary going short right in there. And there's even a failure here, but you can see by the time that failure, you just look how flat the EMA is. Not a good place to go short. It would have worked too, but just not a good place to go short. And then of course we run up to the EMA, but notice that new low, first entry, second entry. That's the better place to enter. And you get another quick move with an easy runner. There's a lower high here. I did not mark it, but you technically could have taken that one. It's just, it had a little bit too much stem. It's right at the end of the, right into the EMA. If you just waited a few minutes later, you get a failure. And I liked entering there better. I really thought we'd go on lower there, but we didn't. This thing bounces out of there. And again, you don't want to be taking any longs yet, and you need to be very choosy on your shorts. I didn't mark this one again because it's right into the EMA. We do have a break and a new high, and that's a fairly bearish bar. It's just so much sideways right there. It's too big a chance it snaps back, even if it's going to go lower. And then when this just ended with these inside bars, that would have been the better place to enter. But if you entered there after getting a close and a new high on the first break of this really strong channel, I wouldn't beat you up too bad for taking that trade. I do think it's aggressive though. Just look at all that sideways. And then of course we're still going sideways here. Runs down here and then we bounce. So it's pretty obvious we got something going on upwards here. But you've got this channel coming down. You get a first entry and then you get a second entry, and there's that big bearish bar again. This one was a second entry, and we are looking for a retest of the lows, so I like that one a little better. It's good for an easy scalp and then some, but then it's racing higher again, and that's why you got to be real careful. Now it's pretty obvious, hey, just sit tight here until we know what's going on. And that's when I would say we're probably coming up here to test that breakout, which is that blue line I showed you earlier. And I still don't like taking any longs. I think you're living on the edge taking any longs. There's not really any good setups here. You might have said, hey, there's a higher low, but you're looking for a retest of the low. And so it could break higher and turn down on a second entry short. And instead it runs up. No setups here, runs up. There is a lower high here, looks congestive, inside bars, right into the EMA. But if you wait just a second, you get the failed second entry long, a lower high, a nice signal bar, enough room back. And you don't know this is going to do this, but you just know there's enough room to get a scalp there. And we have tested that high, and we made a lower high and a failed second entry long. That's where I like going short, and this thing takes off. Again, you don't know that it's going to do this right here, but you got plenty of room to get that scalp, and maybe it takes off, which it does. Then you try to go higher once, twice, 3 times. There's a triple test there. It's not a failed second entry long because your new high is way up here. So your failed second entry long is right here, and I don't like, that's too congestive looking. But when you get that triple test, I like going long right there. I mean short right there on that big bearish bar, right at the EMA on a triple test. And look at it go. There's actually a failed second entry long here, but this doesn't set up properly. We'd want it to be back to the EMA. I don't think you want to take that either. If there's enough room there, maybe you consider that. Again, maybe you can argue for that to be green, but right now you can almost count we're going to make a new low. And actually, I think that's right into some support across there. Was another reason I didn't like it. But it drops on down. And then we want this channel to play out too. And unfortunately, you get a second entry here, but your signal bar is too strong. And then we're going higher. You finally get a break, new high, lower high here, but not a very good setup. And then your failure right here, that's where you want to go short. And another nice move down. You get your break of this short-term channel here, and you get a second entry, another big, nice signal bar. Some of these signal bars are big, but there's not much you can do about it. But this volatility made it so easy to get a scalp if if you're reading it right and you take the right trades. It really offsets a lot of the risk you have. And by that time, you're just going sideways. And I don't see any shorts here I like, and I still would be very leery of taking any longs. So finally, you make a high here, you get a lower high, and you might have taken this engulfing bar to ride it back to the EMA. But again, I'd wait on a reversal. That would be the better play, and that comes right here. But again, look how many, there's 11. I guess that's not too bad. There's 11 ticks there. It's almost 3 points, but you're just not going to get much better than that on a day like this because the selling is strong. And you can see that never would have taken much heat at all, and it was a quick, easy move. And I mean, the risk is worth it because look how many, I mean, that's a 7-point move down there to those lows. And you could almost guarantee that's where prices are going. And we run on down it again. I don't like taking any longs here. The second entry long right there. But finally we make a higher high. We come down, we make a higher low. And again, I don't like taking any longs here, but finally you come back and you get a first entry and you get a second entry, and you do have a trend line working up here. And so you'll probably get a scalp out of that. Again, I think it's a little risky until we get this channel's proven going higher here. And after that, there is one hidden second entry here. Notice the move down, first entry, move down, second entry. So there is a hidden second entry that you might have considered that one, but it's a little advanced and it's not back to the EMA, but they're probably going to start running stops. Every move higher now is probably going to start hitting stops, and it's probably going to run up for a little while. And that did. It ran right up into the close. And really what it is all the people that have been getting short realize that, hey, the downtrend's over. We're going to rally a little bit, and they all start exiting. The higher it goes, the more of them exit, and new longs start coming in. And next thing you know, you're racing up just as hard as you were racing down previously. So you might take those last two trades, but personally, I wouldn't take either one of them. I'd be looking to get short all the way down here. And once we started going sideways, yeah, you might reevaluate, but I'd still be very careful about longs. So quite a day, really. I can't believe I got through that in less than 20 minutes, but I did move pretty quickly, and I did that purposely. Just so many trades, and with a strong downtrend. Until we made this new low right here, I'd be looking for downtrend or down short entries, I guess is what I need to say. I wouldn't be looking for any longs, and even way over here and here, I'd be very picky about them because it's just too big a chance of getting on the wrong side. And when you got a downtrend like this, when it reverses like it did here, this is what happens. It doesn't come back. It just takes off, and if you're not careful, you're in trouble before you can blink an eye. So don't do it. Stay with a downtrend. And if you're not sure if it's over yet, just sit on the sidelines until you get something proven that's going higher like this right here. Maybe you trade a long in here, but with that being the first break, I wouldn't even do that. I mean, obviously we know prices are probably coming back to test that breakout right there, that last low, but there's no guarantee they're going to get there because this has been a very strong day to the downside, and you just don't want to fight that. It's not worth it. So anyway, I hope you had a good trading day. I hope you took advantage of this early downtrend or the continuation of it to a new low here on the retest. But there were some really good moves in there. So chance to get a lot of runners today, quite a few. And even the ones that didn't seem like they ran very far, that's still a long way. All of these are still fairly nice moves. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.